If you'd asked Rishi Sunak's team a while ago where they expected to be by now, I think they would have expected to be a bit further than they are. They're 19 votes, 19 MPs short of being guaranteed a place on the ballot. But as I say, not as much momentum as they might have liked, but some momentum. Penny Mordaunt is the one with the most momentum. She's in a happier place than many would have expected. Liz Truss is on her tail, but still some distance behind. She'll be hoping for more momentum when the next set of campaigns are eliminated. What we know is that the first two campaigns that were eliminated distributed their gifts, their leftovers, fairly evenly amongst the top three. But what happens with the next bunch that are eliminated, Suella Braverman as Attorney General, as you just said, when we get into next week, it looks like Tom Tugendhat's coming out, Kemi Badenoch's campaign, going quite well today, by the way. People say she's doing well in hustings in private. Be interesting to see how well she does in the TV debates, but there must be an expectation that they'll be pecking away at the ruins of those three campaigns when we get to next week. But the phenomenon that everybody is still talking about, that's dominating things, is the Penny Mordaunt phenomenon. What is going on there? If you look at the MPs that she's got on side, there's none of the current cabinet, none of the cabinet we had just over a week ago. And when you look at the membership, they all seem to be, some people say they're sort of projecting their own image onto Penny Mordaunt because they don't quite know who she is. But you could say there's a slight echo here of the Jeremy Corbyn phenomenon. I don't think anybody involved in that comparison is going to thank us for making it. But the membership, according to some of the polls, do seem to be lurching towards someone who isn't at the top end of the current elite. And I think people will be wondering whether there is a sort of two-fingered salute, or I think it's a middle digit that's favoured by some in the Tory party at the moment, to the top table of the Tory party and all of that. But this was the day of the second ballot and also the day of the launch of the Foreign Secretary's campaign.
And I know that she will deliver even more as our Prime Minister.
The Business Secretary introduced Liz Truss as a leadership candidate who was ready. But a painful silence followed the cue for her grand entrance.
It's coming. She will be here very shortly. Fantastic. Fantastic.
Liz Truss said she would shake up economic policy. The clear implication was that neither Rishi Sunak nor Penny Mordaunt would.
Now is the time to be bold. We cannot have business as usual economic management, which has led to low growth for decades.
In the second ballot, Rishi Sunak is still holding on to first place, up 13 votes on yesterday. Penny Mordaunt is holding on to second place, up 16 votes on yesterday. Liz Truss added 14 to her tally, but she's still 19 behind Penny Mordaunt. Kemi Badenoch added 9 to her tally, while backbencher Tom Tugendhat slipped back by 5 votes, but is still in the contest just. Those 5 will take part in any TV debates that happen. Suella Braverman lost 5 votes from the first round, and as she's in bottom place, was eliminated. The front-runner in a Tory campaign quite often becomes a sort of soar-away success. Everyone wants to be part of the gang, and there's a sort of bandwagon effect. We're not seeing that with Rishi Sunak. Why?
Well, I think we've had both sorts of things in Tory leadership contests. That sometimes happens and it sometimes doesn't. And actually, I think this one, because we've got a lot of candidates in the field, we're having a debate about who the right person is to lead on.
For some candidates, staying in the contest long enough for the TV debates was a key aim.
I'm really delighted that Tom Tugendhat is going to be in the debates. That's always been our strategy all week. We believe that Tom offers a clean start for the country, and what we need is the country to see that.
Well, I'm a supporter of Kemi Badenoch, so I'm delighted with the results. She came a very strong fourth. She's put on votes in the last round, so now she's through to the TV debates.
Whether that plays much into the arena, I'm not sure about. But I think
some candidates are desperately hoping it does.
Yeah, I know. I heard that. But my general view is the only thing that matters in this game is that the candidate sees everybody they have to and counts.
The biggest gain was for the bookies' new favourite, Penny Mordaunt.
People want to be on the winning side. I mean, you know, if my profession has a startling sin, it's wanting to be on the winning side.
And you can see that happening around you now.
You can see it happening around
And a lot of people looking at Rishi Sunak's supporters and thinking, well, he's got about 1 or 2 cabinets there already. He won't give me a job.
Well, there may be that too.
Yesterday was fantastic, setting out my vision for the country.
Penny Mordaunt's produced a video of her launch event yesterday. Her old boss in government did his best to kill off her surge in support.
I'm sorry to say this, that I felt she did not master the detail that was necessary in the negotiations last year. She wouldn't always deliver tough messages to the European Union when that was necessary, and I'm afraid she wasn't sort of fully accountable. She wasn't always visible. Sometimes I didn't even know where she was, and I'm afraid this became such a problem that after 6 months I had to ask the Prime Minister to move her on and find somebody else.
Lord Frost endorsed Liz Truss. Her team had hoped she'd be in second place by now.
How worried are you that your campaign is being trampled by the March of Mordaunt?
Well, as you know, I've been focusing on making sure that Vladimir Putin is defeated in Ukraine. And we led that effort. We led the fight for the free world. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for the questions. Very good to see you.
Liz Truss, who forgot where the door was after her launch finished, will be hoping for a boost in numbers next week as more candidates are eliminated and MPs from the collapsed campaigns are available to boost those still standing. When a team gets knocked out, like the Suella Braverman supporters, possibly next in line Tom Tugendhat, people like you who are still in the contest are pecking at the carcasses, aren't you, and trying to pick up some bits of flesh.
Well, it's what's available, and no, I mean, look, every contest...
It's going to be a busy weekend, isn't it?
It's going to be a busy weekend.
I wonder if you could just tell us a bit about how much you're being wooed by the other candidates. What's it like? What are they offering you?
I feel like a prom queen.
And how does that feel?
I'll leave it there.
First, the focus turns to the TV studios, when all will be able to see what until now only Tory MPs have been watching in 2 days of private, off-camera hustings.
Well, as Boris Johnson's cabinet chooses between the remaining 5 contenders, I've been catching up with the Culture Secretary, Nadine Dorries, who's backing Foreign Secretary Liz Truss for the leadership. I began by asking her why Liz Truss seemed to be struggling for votes.
I don't think she is struggling at all. I think being in the top 3 of a field of 8 candidates is not struggling. It's doing really well.
But, you know, she's described, civil servants apparently nicknamed her the human hand grenade because of the chaos she leaves behind in her department.
No. They call her the human hand grenade because she gets things done. She will, and I know, I've served in cabinet with Liz for a year. I've seen firsthand how Liz operates on a daily basis. Liz gets the job done. A lot of people don't understand that being Foreign Secretary is the hardest job in Cabinet. It is the most physically draining and exhausting job. You're flying through different time zones, having really high-level conversations, making big decisions on a daily basis. She has the stamina, she's proven that. She has the ability, she's proven that by her track record of delivery around the Cabinet. She has integrity and loyalty. They are qualities that I think that the electorate will appreciate and recognise.
Why hasn't she won over more MPs then, which is the electorate that matters right now?
So we have a situation at the moment where there are many candidates standing, and what will happen is they will filter down to the final 2. It's just a process that she's going through.
So the idea of Penny Mordaunt for Prime Minister scares you because she's not experienced enough?
I'm not going to discuss my colleagues.
But I mean, she's a Brexiteer like you. She might have expected
to discuss my colleagues.
We have been on
Liz
Twitter.
Truss is a Brexiteer. I have seen her fight.
She was a Remainer.
You know, she was a Remainer. She did remain out of loyalty to her Prime Minister at the time. There's a reason why Jacob Rees-Mogg and I are backing Liz Truss, and that's because we have seen her perform in Cabinet as she has fought for every Brexit opportunity that we can get through. And Jacob and I said she is as strong a Brexiteer as either of us, and we meant that. There is also this kind of perception that the Conservative membership is kind of like staid and right-wing, and you know, it's the same...
Well, it's definitely right-wing.
Well, it's the same membership that has elected a number of women to serve as Prime Ministers in this country, something the Labour Party had never done.
I wondered if you'd spoken to Boris Johnson. I assume you have, because you're one of his closest friends in the government since he was defenestrated. How's he feeling?
He's feeling the same as anybody who had been in that position would feel. I know, I'm sure there are, you know, cycles of grief he will go through, but at the moment he is in his true characteristic fashion. He's literally focused on making sure that he gets out in the country, says thank you to the people he needs to say thank you to. He has a job at the moment, and the job is to get the government through till September and to make sure he says thank you to the people that he feels he owes a debt of gratitude to, and he will pursue that relentlessly. And I think, I don't think anyone can really ask the question, how is he feeling, until a new leader's been elected and Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, goes off in his new life.
You talked about cycles of grief.
I mean, to be clear, he has a very bright future in front of him.
Oh, well, could that future include coming back and having another tilt at the leadership at some point in the future?
I would say never say never.
Really? You think he still believes that himself?
I don't even think he's thought along those lines yet. He's still working incredibly long hours. He's still Prime Minister. I don't think he's even thought about that in the future himself yet. I think he's probably focusing on what he's going to do after September.
Would you accept an honour from Boris Johnson in his resignation honours list?
I haven't even discussed anything like that. We're still going through the process of government. Oh, Cathy, you will never see anywhere Nadine Dorries said, I'm just not I haven't discussed that, and I'm not going to discuss it with you.
Would it be wrong, though, for the Prime Minister to do a bumper resignation honours list?
Well, every Prime Minister of every party has a resignations honours list.
Yeah, but these Prime Ministers have come thick and fast in the last few years.
Stop. I'm not going to discuss it.
So we can expect a rise, Dame Dorries.
I literally...
Dame Nadine.
Dame Nadine. That's a joke.
Do you hope that whoever becomes Prime Minister, whether it's Liz Truss or someone else, that they carry on with your plans to privatise Channel 4 and also to revive your online safety bill, which has died a death?
So on Channel 4, that definitely will happen because it has unanimous support in the Conservative Party for that to happen.
Well, there's quite a few critics on the backbench.
There'll be a few critics, but it has unanimous support and it has the votes to get through.
Nadine Dorries, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
That was the Culture Secretary speaking to me earlier. Well, right after the votes, I caught up with some of the MPs backing the other 4 candidates still in the race. First, I asked the former Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, who's supporting Rishi Sunak, if the former Chancellor's wealth and his wife's previous non-dom tax status is an issue during a cost of living crisis.
Rishi Sunak was born into a family who ran a pharmacy. His dad was an NHS GP, his mum ran the shop. He grew up in the pharmacy. Now, he then made a great success out of his life.
He married a very, very wealthy woman. Is that a problem? Is that tax status a problem?
No, it's not a problem. I'll tell you why. Because we believe in aspiration in the Conservative Party. We believe that if you're born in a chemist shop in Southampton and you go on to get a great education on merit, to have a great business career on merit, to fall in love with whoever you want to fall in love with, and then to have a political career in which you really deliver for the country in some of the most difficult times, I call that a success. And in the Conservative Party, we're in favour of people making a success of their lives. And the critical thing is this: Rishi feels it really deeply, and you saw it in that campaign video. He wants to make sure others can have the same life that he did, coming from a loving, comfortable but modest background in a pharmacy, in a Sunak pharmacy, in a chemist shop. He was born into a pharmacy, and he's made a success out of his life, and I admire that.
But he's also wanted to raise taxes that his family sought to avoid.
No, that's just not. No,
it is true.
No, it's
why you have a non-dom tax status.
It's not accurate. What's accurate is that he has been working incredibly hard, including having to deal with the consequences of the pandemic, but also reducing taxes. Only last week, there was one of Rishi's tax cuts came through and actually went into the pockets of about a quarter of families in the country.
What do you read into those numbers? The momentum is still behind Penny, but maybe not as much as it was.
No, it's fantastic momentum. We've had more people come to us than any other team, and I think the reason they're coming to us is that they show that we've got a vision and that people are really seeing who Penny is and getting behind her, and they believe in her. And I think that's fantastic because it's been just a wholly positive campaign. We're not getting into the tit for tat, we're not playing blue on Lou, we're just saying this is what we stand for.
But she's been in the cabinet for, a total of less than 2 years. She's not in the cabinet now. She'd be the least experienced Prime Minister ever at a time when the challenges are the biggest ever.
But the point is that colleagues believe that she has a detailed plan, and that she has integrity, and that she has the capabilities to do this. Otherwise, they couldn't be coming on board.
It's slightly disappointing for Tom Tugendhat, down 5. Is he not going to call it quits?
He's absolutely not going to call it quits. We're just delighted that he's through to the next round because he will be brilliant in the live debates. So, for us, it's a success.
Isn't the reality that he's going to have to bow out sooner rather than later?
No, I think the reality is that once people hear that he's a different sort of candidate, that he is that clean start candidate, he will differentiate himself from the others, and I think that people will come over to his way of thinking.
Well, we're in it to win. Kemi is in it to win, and she's really serious about making a change for the country for the long term, to getting underneath the problems which we have been facing, which have been causing so many issues over recent weeks. And we've had a good result today, building on another good result which we had yesterday, and I think we've got momentum to go forward. And now there's the opportunity for Kemi to make the case over the next few days, not just to MPs in this place, but to the country as a whole.
It might be refreshing to have someone who isn't kind of weighed down by the baggage of cabinet. But at the same time, given the nature of the challenges ahead, isn't it just a bit scary to have someone who has never even set foot in the cabinet actually in number 10?
Well, it isn't just about the job that you have, it's about what you do with it. And Kemi has been a Treasury Minister, she's been an Equalities Minister, she's been a local government minister, she's done things on education. She's had a number of different big jobs in a number of different departments over the last 3 years. And I think she's demonstrated she's taken on difficult subjects, she's tried to work through issues which have really, really been challenging in this place. And she has shown through her experience that she actually is able to make things happen, to make change. And that's what she's here as, the change candidate. We're going to do things differently, and we're going to try and take the country forward.